start with disconnecting the lower control arms up there and in the front here. And also we're going to disconnect this stabilization rod. Now we have started to put some penetrating oil, some of the bolts, especially this one can be quite tricky to get loose if it had been stuck for a while. So now we're going to remove all these. Hopefully we can just put the control arm down, not have to remove it completely.
Jerk it out. When you jerk it out. Shut up, hush your mouth. Can't you hear you talk too loud? No, I can't hear nothing 'cause I got my head up in the clouds. I fight off anything that I can't chew. I'm chasing cars up and down the avenue, but that's okay. 'Cause it's easy once you know how it's done. You can't stop now, it's already begun. You feel it running through your bones, and you jerk it out.
Ta-da! I'm removing the steering rods just because it's easier to lose them in the front than in the inner. So when I put down the subframe, I can take this over to the new steering rack. Always put on the car on stands when you're working on it, underneath, especially when you're alone. Because we have to remove the downpipe, because it goes on under the subframe. We have to remove the front lambda sond, if it's called that, I don't know. So this is going to be removed first. A little bit of penetrating oil. And of course, don't do this after you have run the car recently. Then use a 22 millimeters. And be very careful with these, they are quite fragile sensors. Try not to twist the cables too much. And we're not going to leave this like this. We have to put a plastic bag or something over it and move it away so we don't damage it while we work. Now this downpipe is removed, we can take out all the steering fluid, so we don't have to have that on the floor later. We're also going to loosen up the steering columns from the steering rack. So when we then loosen the subframe and everything comes down, we don't have to worry about that anymore. Good. We start to remove the bolt from the steering rack so we can separate the steering rack from the steering column. But first we have to remove some panels that are in the way. Quite basic screws and everything. And then we go down in here and remove one bolt down here. We just have to loosen it up, so when we pull the subframe down, if we hopefully just get loose here, because if I want to remove this up here, I have to loosen a lot of bolts for the whole steering rack, and I don't want to do that. The steering column, I mean. Hopefully this will be enough. Now we remove the steering fluid, so we don't have to have that all over the floor later. As you can see, the fluid should not look like this. It should be more clear. So this was not too bad to do anyway. We have a small filter in here. I don't seem to get it removed, so probably have some more fluids under it. So we have to catch that up on the other side. I'm going to remove this other subframe, but first we're going to put the engine on jack stands, so we can remove the engine mounts, and then take down this other subframe that is connected to the subframe that we are actually going to replace. Be careful with these because they are M12 fine thread, so not your most common bolts. So we have these two in the front, and you have two in the back, and then you have two engine mounts in the middle. We just loosen them up, and don't remove it just yet. We have to remove the bolts for the engine mounts first. Now, when the second subframe is removed, we're gonna check so these tubes are not connected to this subframe here. So we're going to loosen them up, and we're probably going to loosen this hose over there, and I hope not so much fluid will come out, but we do as many steps as we can underneath the car before we loosen these hoses, so we don't have to lay in the fluids later. Now I'm going to remove the pressure side from the pump. Trying to catch the fluids that comes out, so we don't have them fluids everywhere where we don't want them to be. We try to empty the last of the steering fluid. Now when the fluids are out and the hoses are disconnected, we can loosen the two bolts that holds the entire subframe. Hopefully I can just lower the jack down and everything will come down. Hopefully. And it's down. Looks good. Now, when we're going to move over the tie rods from the old one to the new one, be sure to measure the length of this one and notice the angle. You can get it the same on this one. So when you put this back, you will have everything in order and it will fit much easier. So now we move over everything, even the sway bars and everything. Also a tip when you're moving over your sway bar is to mark it a little bit so you can place it in the right place on the other side, so you won't move it anywhere, so because it fitted correctly. Let's put it back. Ah! Pro tip, don't tighten the bolts on the subframe to the car just yet, because then the steering rack will go up in its upper position and the steering column won't be able to go down on it. So now I will loosen it up again and hopefully we can put the steering column back again. Now when the subframe is in place and also the steering column and rack is connected again and also the control arms is in place, we can mount the exhaust we removed before, and also the other subframe part with the motor mounts. And let's do that. I was planning to mount the exhaust first, but then I realized when you mount the exhaust, the pipes together with this paste, it's really good to start the engine, to heat the exhaust up, to make it really not leaking. And now I really don't want to start the engine until I'm finished, so I start with the other subframe part first, and then I will take the exhaust later or last. Now we can fill up some power steering fluid. We will fill up and let it slowly sink in, and then we will fill up some more and probably start the engine fast just to make the pump go, and then we can fill up some more. The Volvo steering fluid is green. If this gives any help for you. We will now, after we have filled up a little bit, we will go under the car and check for leaks in the places we have disconnected. We can also later, when we start the engine, check this place here for leaks, so everything is connected correctly. So this one, and also the lower pressure point. So we go under the car and check for leaks. Now we're on the car. We're checking for leaks in this point here, which is the other connection point we disconnected before when we changed the steering rack. But so far so good, no leaks. We will also have a good check under the car when we have started it to see if everything is okay. Pro tip: now when we're connecting the lambda, you can twist it counterclockwise a lot of turns before you screw it in, so when it's connected the cables will be straight. Twist carefully. Maybe your cables isn't as good shape as mine, so you have to be very careful. Perfect. 2 meters. Just enough. Now we'll do the same for the front lambda. Perfect. Now we can start the engine and just briefly start it and see the oil will sink down, and we will refill it a little bit more. It's been going down a little bit. We can refill a little bit more. If you have drained the whole system, according to Volvo, 1 liter should be enough to fill it up again. So we are soon there, I guess. We will try to start again. Or first we can just turn the wheel from side to side, and that didn't go so well. I see. Maybe I filled up a little bit too much. Now we can check for leaks. Nothing here. I can't see any leakage down there yet. I will fill it a bit more.